just start off with the news today, your response to your former employee Proliska's allegations that your committee essentially shifted its focus away from getting to the bottom of the Ghazi attacks and to basically focused on Secretary Clinton and making this a political endeavor.
Well, it's a damn lie, and that's not a word that I often use, but rarely is it so easily proven. And I can prove that not only is this assertion a lie, but the Democrat talking point that it's based on as well, and I'm happy to start wherever you want to.
Okay, you say it's a lie? Why is it a lie?
Well, he left the committee in June of this year, so he has no idea what happened in July, August, September, or October until he gave an interview to CN. What's really important is he never mentioned her name in July, August, September, or October. Never cited that as a reason for his termination or his discipline. And the reason that's important is there's a legal document in September. When he began mediation, there's a legal document where you have to cite what is the basis of your complaint. And he cited his status as a reservist. He never said a word about Hillary Clinton until it looked like he was going to lose his mediation, and then he went on another television show and made this allegation, but he never said a word about it in June, July, August, September, or October, despite having ample opportunity to do so.
Well, let me before we get back to that point, let me follow up on what you're saying right now. Part of his argument is that he was let go for a multitude of reasons, one of them being that he wanted to take leave to finish his military service. He says he got an email back from his superior saying, wow, when he said how many days he had to take off. If such an email does exist, taking him at his word, doesn't that undercut your argument to some extent that he was let go for some wrongdoing on his part?
No, ma'am, I'm looking at the email. I have it right here. And wow could mean a number of things. Wow, you're getting ready, you're able to go to Germany. Wow, that you're going to be able to do some war games. Wow, you're going to have to ask the person who said wow. This is what I can tell you. His leave was always granted. His military leave was always granted. And my top investigator is a 3-star general who was also the top lawyer for the Army. So if you want to make an allegation that you were discriminated against because you're a reservist and your boss is the former top lawyer for the Army, good luck to you, which is why he wasn't winning in mediation. That's why he wasn't winning, because leave was always granted. He was never denied leave. So he was losing in mediation on his reservist claim, and that presented a really good opportunity to pivot to the Democrat talking point of, well, let me try this. The reservist claim didn't work. Let me try this.
Let me hear it from your words, Congressman. Why was he let go, if not for these reasons?
You don't have to hear my words. I'm looking at the documentation from the supervisors. Part of it was the mishandling of classified information, and part of it was his refusal to do what he was hired to do. He's an intelligence expert. That's what we needed him to focus on. But twice he tried to assign people under him to work on Hillary Clinton and others, twice. And I'm looking at the email right now where his supervisor said, not approved, not approved. So he wanted to focus on something outside his area of expertise. We counseled him not to do so. He continued to try to do it, and ultimately he wound up actually resigning. He was discharged, came back, and resigned.
Oh, okay, that is a very important distinction. I'm glad you made that. It seems like what you're saying, and based on what I've read, you're saying he's the one who is actually targeting Secretary Clinton. Is that what I'm understanding what you're saying?
It's not just me saying it. I'm looking at the documentation all the way back to April of this year where he was counseled, stay on task. We didn't hire you to do the talking points. We didn't hire you to put together a PowerPoint. We hired you because you're supposed to be an intel expert. And he's trying to assign interns to work on a PowerPoint project, and his supervisor specifically said in an email, not approved. You need to stay on the mainstream task that we assigned you to and quit trying to work on videos and PowerPoints.
Let me have you, if you could, in a more, like in a 10-second, 15-second, why was he let go? And it's the information you just gave, but I'm just asking you to do it in 2 short sentences.
well, he was a lousy employee, and that was evidenced by the fact that he mishandled classified information and he wouldn't do what his supervisors instructed him to do.
Okay, and just to be very clear on this point, you're saying that in this mediation and in his kind of written statements about his grievances, he never mentioned the issue with Secretary Clinton.
I'm looking at his grievance in mediation. I've got it in front of me. He never mentioned her name. He never mentioned her name during mediation with a mediator in there. The first time he ever mentioned Hillary Clinton's name as the basis for his termination or separation from employment was when he decided to sit down with CNN on Friday. That is the first time anyone in my committee had ever heard that assertion from him.
A lot of people are going to hear what you're saying, and then they're going to remember this, which is that several days ago, the House Majority Leader, Kevin McCarthy, made similar statements, suggesting that your committee is essentially aimed at dragging down Clinton's poll numbers. Why should the American public believe what you're saying over a career intelligence officer?
Well, let me ask you this question. How many interviews have we done since the email story broke? Do you know? Do you know how many interviews our committee has done? How many witness interviews since the email story broke in March? How many interviews?
I actually have it right here because I did read your statement earlier today.
How many?
I know you interviewed 44 new witnesses, 50,000 pages of new documents.
Actually, 44 is low. We've interviewed 50 people since the email story broke. 50. How many of them had anything to do with her email? One. And it was a guy named Brian Pagliano, and that was a really short interview because he invoked his Fifth Amendment privilege against incrimination. So if we pivoted after your line of work, not mine, broke the email story, if we pivoted, how in the world do you explain 49 out of 50 witness interviews we've done were directly related to the before, during, and after Benghazi, and only one that lasted about 10 minutes was dedicated to her email? 1 out of 50.
But I take your point that you have been doing a lot of work, but let me just get you to answer that question, which is, if you're talking to someone in the American public who's skeptical right now because of what Congressman McCarthy said, why should they believe you when you, as a House Majority Leader, essentially say this was set up for political gain?
Well, Kevin's not on the committee, and thank God we live in a country where my fellow citizens judge us based on what we do and not what others say. Kevin's not on the committee. He's never been on the committee. Kevin probably doesn't know that we did 50 interviews, 49 of which had nothing to do with Hillary Clinton's email. So the only thing I can ask my fellow citizens to do is don't go based on the words of people who don't know what they're talking about. Look at the actions of the people who are actually conducting the investigation. 49 out of 50 interviews since this story broke have to do with the before, during, and after Benghazi, and one that lasted 10 minutes, who happened to be the person she picked to set up the server. That's the one, and then he invoked his Fifth Amendment privilege, so it was a really short interview.
And why would this career intelligence officer make this up?
Well, you'll have to ask him that. I don't know. I've never met him. I can just tell you this. His initial claim, the one that he put in writing, the one that when it came time to talk to a court and a mediator, his claim was that he was discriminated against because he was a reservist. Well, you're not going to win that claim when your leave is granted both times and your boss is the former top attorney for the U.S. Army and a 3-star general. You're not going to win that claim. So if you want to get money out of the federal government based on being a disgruntled employee who was fired, you're going to need another line of attack. And so he pivoted to one, and that happened on Friday.
And let me ask you a similar question in regards to Majority Leader McCarthy. Why do you think he would make the statement that he made on Fox News if there was no truth to it?
You'll have to ask Kevin. Kevin's a friend. I'm disappointed in what he said, not because he said it, but because it's wrong. I have career federal prosecutors, a United States Army general. I have serious women and men who have been working on this for 18 months. So I am not going to let the loose lips of one member of Congress who doesn't know what we're talking about undercut the hard work of people who've been doing it for the past 18 months. Look at what we've done, not what other people have said. 99% of what we've done is the before, during, and after Benghazi. And the only reason I'm looking into email is because she had an email arrangement with herself that kept me from getting the documents from the State Department.